Moving on with the session, we would like to invite Mr. Badri Gomatam, CTO Telecom, Sterlite Technologies, to share his views on fiber in mobile broadband economy. Sir, we request you to come on the stage.
Dr. Badri Gomatam recently joined Sterlite Technologies Limited as CTO, Telecom in Optical Fiber Plant at Aurangabad, Maharashtra. Sir has over 18 years of product development, R&D, and business experience in optical communication, integrated circuits, and optical components. Sir has worked to standardize new technologies in fiber communication with IEEE, ITUT, and FSAN. Sir received his PhD in 1993 from University of Massachusetts, Amherst. He has previously served at Communique and Vitis Semiconductor in the office of the CTO. Sir was most recently with Clarify Communications as the Director of System Engineers. We welcome you, sir, to Communique 11. Sir, we request you to kindly preside over the session.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to present today at the Communicate 2011. This is a post-lunch session, so really appreciate a lot of people coming back and not taking a nap after lunch. The title of my presentation is Fiber in the Mobile Broadband Economy. So with a lot of focus on the wireless arena from this morning on, I might be the only person who's got a product in the ground, whereas everybody else is probably up in the air. So the presentation, I'll quickly flash to the disclaimer. That's a corporate requirement to flash that slide. My outline is as follows. I'll just quickly work through the mission and company overview for Sterlite, who we are. Briefly touch upon the global trends in fiber communications. I understand we have 15 minutes, so I'll try to keep it within the time bound. There's a lot of material to cover. In the fiber-rich diet, we're advocates for optical fiber in the wireless world. I try to mention a few leading indicators as to why we believe that. And then summary and discussion, we can have a questions session. So our mission is connecting every home on the planet. We make it faster, easier, and more cost-effective for service providers and to build telecom and power infrastructures. We provide connectivity solutions in power conductors, power cables, power grid infrastructure. That's one of our businesses. Optical fiber and cables, which is where I'm from. Data communication and telecom systems and solutions. So with that, I just get to the rest of the presentation. So the global trends in fiber communications. So what's happening today, to get a perspective, what is the global demand for optical fiber? Today, it's an all-time high. Oops, sorry. On the order of 190, maybe 200 million kilometers, fiber kilometers per year. The world market demand is right there. The China market demand is right there. The US and Europe together is about 60, and India, on the other hand, is trailing around 10. Okay. So that's a perspective for what's going on worldwide with fiber consumption. Now, in the optical transport market, I've put a slide here just to kind of highlight a very busy series of events starting in the 1980s, going all the way till today and maybe to 2020. And the source for this information, this graph, actually, it's a very nice graph from the NTT Technical Review. So where we are today, we've roughly seen a 50% year-over-year growth in capacity or bandwidth on a single wavelength. And we are trending roughly here in this area today where the era of digital coherent detection. Now, this is a very recent trend. It's been happening maybe for the last 5 years in the industry. and it's been deployed even in India in a couple of places. The motivation for this is 100 Gbps systems, 100 Gbps on a single wavelength, and the enabler is coherent optical transmission. A number of advances in various fields to enable this generational change. However, one of the things that is probably heartening to the wireless folks is the technology underlying coherent transmission comes from the wireless arena. That is phase modulation and quadrature phase shift keying. And also there's a CMOS processor that can cancel all the impairments that's in the fiber plant. So we don't need to talk about an expensive infrastructure now to deploy fiber, dispersion compensation and wavelength and a PMD compensation and so on. High-speed digital conversion is the other enabler that in silicon industry that is provided, and the DSP. And what we get out of this is a very much improved signal-to-noise ratio margin, what we call a coherent gain. And we get today, the market has products that have the highest spectral efficiency. Again, from the wireless context, it's bits per second per hertz, and you get the best today that anyone has seen. A second enabler for the market is 100 gigabit Ethernet, connecting hundreds of LAN pipes across a WAN domain, right? So these are the main motivations for this trend in optical transport. And all indications are that the innovation continues on this curve out to the next 10 years, okay? Now, in the optical access segment, there's again a technology migration. It's a very busy slide again here. But we started off maybe 3 years ago in the GPON arena, where that's where all the deployments are heading. And we head over to what we call NG-PON, a next generation PON, of which we have a generation 1 and a generation 2. And what we see here is this migration path, which gives you reach extension, which means like if you're deploying networks now on the 20-kilometer range, you will soon be able to do that in a 100-kilometer radius. And then in the future, we talk of improved split ratios, which means addressing maybe 1,000 subscribers from one central or one fiber pair from the central office. And increased bandwidth efficiency, and the days in which the tremendous amount of literature available that shows symmetric 1 gigabit between the user and uplink and downlink symmetrically at 1 gigabit. Now, clearly, this is something that is in the future, but it is maybe 3 to 5 years away. Okay. Now, the key takeaway from all this, the last couple of slides I wanted to leave with you is that the communications industry continues to innovate. We have record spectral efficiencies, and across all these markets, the transport market, metro, long haul, and the access markets. And the global fiber demand is at an all-time high, which consequently means the economics of fiber deployment have never been better. It follows this innovation. And we've seen basically, probably today we get the best deployed cost per bit that you can think of, and that trend continues over time, right? So now, just coming to sort of the meat of this presentation, what is a fiber guy doing in a wireless panel discussion? Well, the case for optical fiber in a wireless world, that really is one of the things that we want to talk about. Why do we need fiber when there's so much wireless broadband coming your way, right? So in the dynamics of our industry, the telecom industry in India in particular, is that we see a substantial growth in subscriber base. We see that this broadband access is now becoming a reality for entertainment and data services and not just voice. And then there are several government initiatives that we probably will be talking about for the rest of the afternoon. And we have, that leads to a number of well-connected individuals going up from various spectra in society. So one of the things that comes up and is worth repeating, is probably well known to everybody in this audience, is this so-called wireless, the access bandwidth funnel. What we have, as everybody probably knows very well, standardized radio access generations, or the RATs or RATs. These generations have enabled us to, as we heard in the morning, a broadband living or a lifestyle. It's transformed our bandwidth consumption behavior. We use more data, at least in the affluent sections of society. And what that implies is due to is the data and video-rich content. And the carrier's challenge here really is transporting this aggregated user control data back to the central office and back to the switching centers, right? And more importantly, they've deployed these networks across multiple generations, starting from GSM and then now looking forward to the LTE, or the fourth generation service, where the demonstrated downlink bandwidths are on the order of 80 to 160 megabits per second, right? And they must do so across the entire network. This really is the opportunity for where fiber now lives in a wireless economy, right? So this is what roughly is called the backhaul opportunity, and I'm sure we'll hear more about this from the panelists following this discussion. So the application endpoints or domain for the mobile backhaul is basically from here, from the E nodes or the node Bs all the way back to the network controllers. There are three main choices here, as we know. There's copper, there's microwave, and fiber. And one of the interesting points of data is we all know and have come to appreciate is the nearly 70% of wireless penetration in the Indian market. However, only about 18% of these towers that get connected back are on fiber in India, as opposed to maybe about 93% in China. That's kind of a perspective on where things are in this market. So that is both a challenge and an opportunity for us. There are various challenges on the way for enabling fiber in here. However, if you think about what strategies are available and to a service provider and try to make a case for fiber, the best case that you can look at is that the cost of fiber is initially high, but its cost is coming down quickly because of the innovations that the industry is making in other segments. However, the cost is proportional to the distance, and therefore there is the balancing. There's a force of balance here. On the microwave front, which is the most probably the most widely used backhaul technology today for carriers, there are some constraints in reach, that there's a line of sight requirement in most cases. However, there's no constraint of that sort in the fiber. In the legacy arenas, at least E1, T1, these are already in place. They're low capex at the moment, but they have very low bandwidth. And microwave, you have to license some spectrum. You have to allocate yourself some spectrum, so you have to pay for that. There's some high upfront capital expense and some maintenance cost. And in a fourth alternative, satellite, which is useful in some cases, but its cost is probably much higher than comparable choices. So the summary of all this is that fiber backhaul plus what we'll call carrier-grade Ethernet, and there are some flavors of it which I'm sure we'll hear from the panel later on, is it enables a future-proof backhaul solution while preserving your legacy investments across multiple generations of wireless investment, wireless deployment. And in terms of understanding exactly what equipment choices are there and so on, the key word here is that it's carrier-grade Ethernet. And the availability of fiber, of course, is taken as a given from our perspective. So what exactly then, just quickly to sum up my presentation here, what exactly do we mean by a fiber-rich diet? It's our RAN innovations. So the things that we offer on the market is fiber to the antenna, where you can directly draw the fiber to the remote radio head. We offer products such as cut-free optical cable. One of the big challenges of deploying fiber in India is the number of cuts unforeseen in the planning stage. Outside plant fiber solutions, which is basically cable management and deployment, and global installation practices. Generally speaking, these solutions as a whole, they reduce the size and weight of and lower power in the backhaul space. And more importantly, they help in reduced installation times. How exactly this goes through is more of a sales pitch, but these are sort of the claims that one as a fiber manufacturer, and more importantly as an infrastructure maker, tries to bring to the table. So just to move forward to our summary and discussion, so the key takeaways from this presentation are that the demand for bandwidth is driving consumption of fiber to an all-time high. It's basically fueled by infrastructure programs, national broadband programs, mobile backhaul, and fiber to the X, fiber to the home, basically. And the 4G LTE transition will, or as everybody understands probably, present significant challenges in the backhaul arena. And this fiber connectivity in the radio access networks basically gets you a future-proof solution across multiple generations. And end-to-end solutions manufacturers like Sterlite can help drive that implementation into a single point of solution for you. So that's my last slide, and we can go for questions now. Any questions? Well, I guess you all agree with the proposition then. So I guess we're done with questions. They don't seem to be.
Thank you, sir, for such a knowledge-enriched session. Sir helped us to understand the global trends in mobile communication, fiber communication, and also highlighting on the digital coherent optical transmission, helped us to understand the challenges and the opportunities of fiber communication. Now, I would like to request my colleague to present sir with a memento as a token of our gratitude and appreciation. Thank you, sir. May I request you to kindly take your seat amongst the audience.